Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the regular meeting of Osoyoos Town Council, Monday, October the 18th at 2 p.m. in Council Chambers. First item of business would be adoption of some minutes, and this would be the Committee of the Whole minutes from September the 20th, the regular open minutes from September the 20th, special open minutes from September the 20th, and public hearing minutes from September the 20th, moving forward for adoption. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Chadsey. Any discussion as they stand? Thank you very much. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Any business arising from those minutes? Thank you. Hearing none, we'll go to introduction of late items. And under business 6, we will be adding the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Conference. There'll be a report on that coming forward. After that, I need a motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Cronmiller, all in favor. Opposed, carried, thanks. And bringing us to item E, delegations. And we have with us today the Community Action for Seniors Independence, CASI. Will provide Council with an update on the CASI Pilot Program, which was initiated in 2009, as well as providing the community awareness of this program. There's a large number of delegates here, so I don't know who the lead speaker is, but please come forward to the mic, please.
Hi, my name is Esther Kubrin. I was the project coordinator during the research and the development phase of the project. I don't know if anyone has any history about the project or were involved in the meetings that took place last fall, or what the involvement of has been in keeping up with everything. But I did put together some materials for your review, just a quick synopsis of our situation, a copy of a promotional brochure that is out circulating in the community, a photocopy of a news article that the Osoyoos Times ran, and a copy of our survey. So what we're doing is we are now ready to start implementing the services that we were looking at last fall. So what's happening is the provincial government recognized that the support of seniors is not just centralized to family support or health support. It also requires community support. So it developed a program through the seniors, the Ministry of Healthy Living and Sport, the Seniors Secretariat for Healthy Living, to look into the needs of seniors, in particular in 5 communities that had high densities of senior populations throughout British Columbia. So those meetings took place last fall, discussing with various agencies within the town, various service club group members, just what it would be that Osoyoos might be able to do to help its senior population and support them with their desire to live independently in their homes for as long as possible. So over the course of the winter, this project kind of, was in the discussion phase, just what was it that we could do. So come spring, the working group of volunteers from local agencies in the community, they got together with the Osoyoos Senior Center, and they started looking at this a little more in depth. So we did a survey we put together when we sent out to everyone in the community via mail, and an article about that survey was published in the paper just to let everyone know what's been happening. Our members have been active in the community in approaching people, trying to get as much input as possible. And out of the surveys that went out and about the community, we had 68 that were returned. And those were addressed to not just seniors, asking them to look at their needs and what it is that they felt that they needed, but also the caregivers for seniors. We wanted to get as much input as we could, just so that we had a really good representation from the community. So one of the things that was identified was the need, of course, for transportation, but also companionship transportation. Transportation that would have a senior accessible to a companion to come along, help with grocery shopping, help with any errands, bringing things into the house, putting things away if necessary, accompanying a senior to a doctor's appointment, anything else that it may be, and also this, the need for more social engagement and interaction amongst seniors in our community. The Senior Center has a very vibrant seniors community. They have lots of activities that go on all year round, but it was felt that we're still not reaching our seniors within the community. According to the statistics that were gathered in this initial research phase, there's about 1,850 seniors living in Osoyoos, and the Senior Center has a good representation of those, but there's still a lot that are not utilizing the resources that are here for whether it's social engagement or other activities that are going along. So we thought maybe there was a way that we could combine all of this kind of stuff. So what we're wanting to do is provide the companionship transportation so that a senior has someone to accompany them on their outings as well as to social outings, provide visitation as well. So our program was structured around these ideas, and we applied to the ministry and the United Way of the Lower Mainland for a grant, and we received $145,000 of funding over the course of a year and a half, 18 months. And with those funds, we have hired a project coordinator for the implementation phase of this project. And we've also hired a volunteer coordinator. So we will be looking now to purchasing a van. We want to get we're looking at a Ford 350 van that can accompany ordinarily 10 people. In this case, it'll have a conversion for a raised roof, a lift, and wheelchair accessibility. So we're in that phase of trying to get those details together as well. Also part of the program will be volunteer drivers using their own vehicles and who may also want to act as companions, and rather than try to take on driving the van, they'll just use their own vehicles for this. So our volunteer coordinator will be very active in the community, trying to recruit volunteers for those services, as well as for youth to help out with yard work and snow removal services. So that's where we're at right now. Our grant was approved on September the 9th, and we've just completed our hiring. So I wanted to just take this opportunity to introduce the group to you. They're all here. Donna Hill is our new project coordinator. I don't know if any one of you know anyone else who's on our advisory group. Louder. Wally Murphy, our Senior Center President. Mike Drucken, he's our treasurer. From our group. But anyways, and also on our advisory group is Tracy Sinclair from the United Way of the South Okanagan-Similkameen. She's been very instrumental in this project and liaison with us with the United Way of the Lower Main. So together we have come together to research this matter, and now we're working towards the implementation. So any support that Town Council can give us would be appreciated. We will be applying for the community service grants that are coming up in January. And also, if any one of you wants to join the advisory group or knows of anyone else who might want to participate with our advisory group, that would be great if we had more representation from the community. Does anyone know about what we're doing?
Well, it certainly sounds like an exciting project right from the get-go, and of course the funding always helps, and I'm really impressed with the volunteers that have come forward from the community. Once again, the residents of Osoyoos are stepping up to the plate, and this sounds like just a great program, and certainly something that we need, and with that high percentage of seniors we have in this town, I know the needs. My mother's up in Mariposa. She's sort of beyond what you're doing now and keeping seniors at home for as long as possible. But that's just a real worthwhile cause. I really applaud you and the group of volunteers from Osoyoos doing that.
I could ask you one correction on your outline on page 2. I inadvertently have the telephone number incorrect for the CASI Osoyoos project. We'll be operating out of the Senior Center, and the line just got hooked up on Friday. So the telephone number is 250-495-6925. And our project coordinator, Shauna Hill, has a cell phone also. That number has also just been put in place, and that telephone number is 250-485-8629. So if anyone has any more questions or would like to participate in the program or knows of anyone who would like to participate, that would be great. Thank you.
There may be any questions, Council?
Oh,
Councillor
okay.
Chadsey, please.
Thank you. Good job, Esther. Councillor Ryan and I attended the very first meeting, and I just want to say that you've come a long way since then.
Thank you.
So I congratulate you all and good luck. And you might want to repeat those phone numbers just in case.
All right. Telephone numbers again are 250-495-6925 for the CASI Osoyoos project at the Senior Center. And the cell phone telephone number for Shauna Hill is 250-485-8629.
Thank you.
Have a comment.
Okay.
Yeah, and that number, of course, is available to our potential clients and any potential volunteers as well.
Okay. Well, we asked that to be repeated because of our television audience, and we're being web streamed, so we have two other audiences out there. So hopefully anyone wanting those numbers will have picked them up.
Oh, thank you. Okay, bye.
Thank you. The next delegate is individual we see here fairly often. Usually comes with good news. I'd like to welcome Doug Blatchford from the Wine Country Racing Association. These are the folks that put on the drags up at the airport runway there. 5 times a year now, is it?
That is correct. 5 times.
Great.
That's all we can muster volunteers for.
Mr. Blatchford, please.
Thank you very much. The reasons for being here today are, one, to review our race season with Council. I have provided Council with a sheet of paper with a bunch of numbers on it. And those bunch of numbers are broken down into individual races, and the final column on the back would indicate a year's total. So just for your information, the year's total driver's gate was $5,800. Got $13,830 from the spectator gate, for a total of $19,630. However, expenses appear to be a problem. If you notice, we paid out $14,360 to put these events on. We discovered that our expenses are rising much more quickly than ever expected. Things are going up in price. It's just that simple. Insurance costs us more. Traction compound costs us more. Granted, we do get a really good deal from the business here where they supply us machinery and stuff at very nominal expenses to help us out. You will probably recognize some of the names. And we do thank those businessmen locally who really do stand up and give us a hand to put the event on. With that being said, you will notice that our first 4 races netted very little money. However, our 5th race in October, we kind of got our act together and we tried something a little different. I don't know if you saw any of our media coverage, but we hosted the Okanagan Car Club Challenge, which was our first endeavor to try and take what would have been an illegal street activity, take it to a racetrack. And I know the mayor himself probably is old enough to remember car clubs getting together at the local cruise in, and then people would disappear for a while and arrive back in the A&W or whatever. So we took this type of illegal racing and we said, okay guys, you organize your car clubs, come on down, and instead of racing individually, you will race represent car club. We had 3 car clubs participate in this. They inundated us with cars. Spectators seemed to really like it. And all in all, we had a very successful event. In fact, we were so successful, we actually had to shut the registration of cars down. We just could not handle the number of cars we had. But it was a very successful endeavor to us. And, of course, you share in that success. So, that being said, that's all I have to say about the race season. If council has any questions about that, ask me now.
I ask the same question all the time. How's the runway holding up?
The pavement's holding up very, very well. We've got to do some little bit of number work on it, board up some of the numbers. But other than that, the actual pavement's treated very well. Used to be quite resilient to weight, etc. Getting very, very hard.
Great. Council, questions? Okay, the next part.
The next part, well, I have a check here. I'll give this to somebody. Who would like it? There we go. I will make sure that gets delivered. The third part was, and when I had wanted to address council, I put in my letter, whine about noxious control. We, on our September race, inspected the runway and found out we were overgrown with puncture vine. And I mean overgrown, an understatement. We took 2 pickup loads of compacted puncture vine off the runway. We, on a Labor Day Monday, had a phone out and said we had to get every volunteer. If we want to race, we got to get people out and we got to get rid of this stuff because we're going to spread it all over the place. So we had 30 people come out and they spent hours, whole afternoon out there, gathering the puncture vine, stomping on it. We had a propane burner to take the little tongs off it so you could actually pick it up with gloves. And we bagged up 2 truckloads of it and hauled it away. After we were finished with that, we had contacted the noxious weed people in Summerland, then came down with their vacuum picker-upper things. They went over the area and to try and suck up some of the seeds. We also, because we had contacted them, passed out thousands and thousands of pamphlets regarding the spread of puncture vine for people to be aware that we're at the track, that they want to inspect their car tires, inspect their clothing. Please do not spread this around. It's very vicious, noxious. We accomplished all of that. Recent inspection of the airport shows that we probably killed 90-95% of it with ever. That's not to say that next spring it won't be back with vengeance. Who knows where the seeds are? Really terrible vine. Huge problem. And
Thank you.
So now I have whined about it.
Well, thank you very much, both for the check, for the successful year, and for the aggressive action on the puncture vine. That is one terrible invasive species we have going. When I sit at regional district boards, I'm always, because they don't have it in Penticton yet. It's around. And I just keep telling people, that they really, really have to get up their borders and their barricades and stop that thing from growing. It's a terrible, terrible species of plant.
Well, not only is it a terrible species of plant, we're dealing with an environmentally sensitive area. So a lot of times natural treatment, all the invasive noxious weeds won't work. You can't go out there with a weed killer and start spraying it around because you've got a protected area.
Right.
This was basically a hand crew that had to go in and try and gather this up. We don't know really what to do. We are looking at other noxious weeds that are invading the airport and the environmental zone right next to it. And we don't know how anybody's going to clean it up. It's getting filled with stuff that's not supposed to be there. Even the nicely replanted area, we noticed that the tumbleweed and other noxious varieties are now populating the airport, and we're going, I don't know how council will deal with it. We will try to keep the area we're using cleaned and cleared, but a big problem somebody's going to have to deal with. Because you just can't go in there and kill the weeds. That's the problem. Right. If you kill everything, you kill it with a lawnmower. Right. That kills things you don't want to kill.
Okay, well, thanks for your report. Any questions from council? Councilor Cronmiller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have a question.
Oh.
But I
can't tune up your Camaro.
No, there you go. I just wanted to let everyone know what the total of the check was.
Oh, right.
Here, I'll give
appears to be what it is.
Off of there.
Well, it's even better than what I see on here.
No, it's not. It's
there's the spot.
Yeah, there's the spot there.
So this check is for $1,738.16. So that's something that comes to the town.
Right.
I just wanted to make sure that all our viewing audience knew what that was.
Well, are you interested in how much we've given the town since we started our little program back in 2006? I can give this to you. To date, with the inclusion of that check, we have given the town $16,262.75.
Yeah.
Welcome to that, too.
That's probably the biggest revenue the airport has brought in so far. So far.
No comment. I'm going to leave that one alone. The final item that I would like to talk to council about is the status of our letter that we started back last January to try and move some dirt to the airport. We did have a meeting with 3 of the council members that took time to come out and they looked at our problems. Of course, their suggestion for this year worked. We just simply used the lots that parking. However, since that meeting, Home Hardware has purchased a bunch of the property out there, and there's just the 2 lots remaining. Don't know really how to get dirt moved, direction take. Who would take out, say, the permit and say, look, you can move this stuff here and you can put it there someplace or whatever. But we do know that if we're going to racing really trips with, as I said, make the northerly 300 some odd feet runway vehicle friendly, drive around.
Okay, well, I would turn that over to our CAO, Mr. Romanko. You could touch base with him and get one of our directors, a couple of our directors up there. We are aware of this. I don't know exactly if we're current on it, but yeah, we would have to have a look at that. You make contact with Mr. Set up who and when and have a look at that.
Yeah, because we're, as an organization, we're just not, how do I say, completely sure of how to proceed. Like, we can get some equipment there and be able to move the dirt, but we really have to have a process in place where we can take the dirt from here and we can go over there and we can get dirty dirt and put it down so people can tighten it. And, of course, you can see by our financial statements, we're not a well.
Right, right. Okay, well, if you can make that contact, and I suggest you do it soon. We are also moving forward with a soil removal bylaw. So there's a very, very short window, although you would, if you were being part of this with the town, it would be under our new bylaw because it's heading for first reading here coming in November. So good luck with that, and council will certainly be doing what they can to be in a supportive position for the organization.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Blatchford. Next item of business is the water department, and we're looking for the water district cash requirements to October the 18th in the amount of $38,500.46. Councillor Morera and Councillor Laranjo seconding. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And the next item under water matters is we've had a request for servicing an area that sort of was bypassed on 87th Street. Mr. Doucette, were you going to do the presentation on this? One of the pleasures of having afternoon meetings is we get to have our directors here. So we have Mr. Ron Doucette, our Director of Public Works, going to walk council through some of the intricacies of this application.
Okay. Well, this is the second part. Basically, we had a meeting on this before. There's a few questions that you asked, which I found out for you. To make sure that these people realize that it is irrigation water and lake water in the summertime, and they are aware of that, and they still want to proceed with to become part of the irrigation district at this point. And the other one was how did IHA react to us giving them irrigation water, and then they actually encourage it because eventually they feel that we are going to have the twinning, and then they can better control the quality of the water for these people. So with that in mind, we proceeded, and also getting a price. They also requested the dollars for it, and you can see from the report from Mr. Underwood. And now I guess it's just a matter of will you accept these people in the irrigation district? And then if so, like I say, will they accept the price to pay for a water service?
Right.
There was 2 properties that are, my understanding is, they belong to the actual people that are there, so they know about what's happening with that as well. So basically, the question is, do we accept them? And if there is going to be, because we are extending a main line, this would be in conjunction also with the other phase of the northwest sewer. So that would work out fairly well, because including in the price for this is not even actually paving, because it's going to be part of the other projects. There is a saving for them in that respect.
So looking at that price of $7,200 or $72,000, what is the price per lot on that for the clients?
If you add, like I said, the meters and the $1,500 capital cost charge, it'd be about $11,100.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's 260 meters of main line that has to be extended.
Right. That's a lot of money. Now these people are also going on the sewer then too.
Yes, they are.
The
Yeah.
sewer when it gets there.
Yes, that's right.
So they're sort of looking at a $20,000 bill.
I'm not sure what the sewer is, but I know what the water is.
Okay. Any questions of council? Councilor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to clarify, this project, if it's carried through and everybody agrees to everything, it comes at no cost to existing taxpayers.
That's exactly right.
Correct?
Right.
Councilor Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I noticed that you were speaking with Mrs. Starr, and she has verbally said that the other people agree. It would seem to me it would be more in everyone's interest to have each of them sign off that they, in fact, agree, and the signing off would explain not only the projected cost but also some of the information that's in Mr. Underwood's letter.
That's right.
Can we assume that is what will happen?
I'm guessing. I don't think these people know what the cost is at this point.
Right. And also, that they, that there is not going to be any cost recovery from the non-participating properties.
That's right.
And what they will be paying on a regular basis thereafter.
That's right. The reason we stepped ahead on the price, usually, first of all, you accept the people in, and if they're accepted, then we wouldn't go to the second stage. But Mr. Remenko just figured, like, let's get the dollars, and then everybody knows where we're at. And if they say yes, then we can proceed with the details when the sewer goes out at the same time.
Okay, so we would.
The next step would be just to contact them and say, listen, this is what this is the price. If you agree to take them in.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'd be looking at a resolution today to allow them in, and then we'll go around and
that's exactly
get
right.
it real firm, see the color of their money.
And that's when we probably make sure that we saw the light online. I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
Councilor Rhodes.
Also move.
Okay. Yep. Seconder, Councilor Cronmiller. Any further discussion on providing water to these houses out there? Hearing none. Any water councilors? Probably it's a good idea. Yep. Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thanks a lot, Mr. Doucette. Under the correspondence portion of the meeting, we have a letter from Mat Hassan requesting that council name Joseph Plaskett as an honorary son of Osoyoos. I'm just going to actually read this letter. Dear Mayor Wells and Council, as you know, the internationally renowned artist Joseph Plaskett has recently donated 25 pieces of his original work to the Osoyoos Museum in perpetuity. The works are all based on Osoyoos scenery and reflect the major influence which our area had on his development as an artist. In fact, Joe openly acknowledged the importance of his time here starting in the 1940s to the development of his artistic style and outlook. In addition, Joe has family connections in the Osoyoos area which date back more than 80 years and continue today. The strength and depth of Joe's connections to Osoyoos were evident at the dinner on September the 19th, which acknowledged his valued contribution. Therefore, I would like to suggest that Osoyoos Town Council consider naming Joe Plaskett an honorary son of Osoyoos in recognition of his long connection and valued contribution to our community's artistic heritage for all time to come. Yours truly, Mat Hassan. So what is Council's wishes with this, please? Councillor Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In view of the fact that we don't really have a son of Osoyoos designation and all the criteria and protocol for that, I would like to move that we receive this letter and reply acknowledging the valued contribution that Mr. Plaskett has made to the museum and the community, and pointing out that we can't do this, but that we will certainly want to acknowledge our gratitude for what he has done.
Okay, thank you. And again, when we don't have a protocol how this would fit, this would be starting on a long process of a selection process and who qualifies and who doesn't, and so it would really be hard to respond to this. It may be something that we should be looking at. I know this has come at us different ways, looking at naming a street after one of the pioneers, or naming other areas of town. So it is something that probably we should be long-term addressing. So we'll take a stab at that. I'll have a contact with Mr. Hassan, and there may be, if Mr. Joe Plaskett comes back to town, there might be able to make a proclamation of a special week or something like that, because I believe there's the opportunity that he may be donating more artworks to our museum, and this is a internationally renowned artist. Councillor Chadsey, have a comment?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Thank you. So the motion to receive, all in favor of that, please? Thank you. That's approved. The next item was, in the correspondence, was a letter from Minister Bell. This is a standard letter that's gone out encouraging the use of wood in the community. What is Council's wishes on that? Councillor Rhodes?
Motion to receive.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Cronmiller, any discussion on it? All in favor? Opposed? Carried? And finally, the report from the Okanagan Basin Water Board. Probably looking at a motion to receive there, please. Councillor Cronmiller, Councillor Chadsey, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried? Thanks. The next item of business is the Oasis development. Would be the fourth report on Oasis development, Main Street, official community plan, OC amendment bylaw 1230.08, zoning amendment bylaw 1085.77, phase development agreement authorization bylaw, development permit D0907, a subdivision application S1002. Make this one more bigger here for tired eyes. There's some background here that going back to January the 11th, 2010 and March 1st, there was a report submitted to Council on amenity assessments. On August the 4th, Council gave first readings to the OCP and zoning amendment bylaws and PDA authorization bylaw. On August the 23rd, there was a public information meeting. September the 7th, there was a public hearing. September the 20th, Council gave second and third readings for the official community plan amendment bylaw 1230.08, zoning amendment bylaw 1085.77. And they gave second and third reading and adopted Phase Development Agreement Authorization Bylaw 1272 and passed a resolution authorizing the Phase Development Agreement Covenant, Development Covenant, and Tourist Accommodation Covenant. These were registered covenants against the property, meeting the request of council and the planning department. There are some recommendations here that staff recommends that council give final reading to and adopts the official community plan OC amendment bylaw 1230.08, zoning amendment bylaw number 1085.77, approves development permit DPO 907 for the medical commercial building. What is council's? Councilor Rhodes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move to accept the recommendations as worded in items 1 and 2.
Okay. Seconder, Councilor Cronmiller. Seconding. Discussion, please. Councilor Chadsey.
Thank you. I hope that other councillors will speak to this so that I can make up my mind. We all know that this is a huge, huge change to our community. Everybody welcomes the medical building. A lot of people do not know that there's going to be a height such as we've never seen in this town before. And that's not to say that by the time that buildings are constructed that we won't have other buildings of similar height. However, it's a 10-year, proposed to be a 10-year project, and we hope that if it's adopted, that what we see happening does happen. When all is said and done in 10 years, if this development is approved and goes through, we're not going to remember the buzzwords of bonus density and urban sprawl. None of those are going to mean anything. We're either going to be accustomed to and have become compatible with 3 buildings of excess for stories in height, or we're not, and that's the way it will be. The thing that I want to talk about is I am somewhat disappointed in through all of this that we could not come to some arrangement between the developer and staff on Jubilee Drive. The report does say that the road will withstand all of the extra traffic, but it talks that we have to make a sidewalk along Jubilee a higher priority. So if council is going to have to make the sidewalk a higher priority, and that sidewalk is not accounted for in any of the cost-sharing formulas between the developer and the town, then the town residents are going to have to pay for that sidewalk. And that has bothered me from the beginning. I've made my my feelings concerning this to council and to staff and to the developer, and that's all I have to say about that.
Okay, thank you. Council, any further input? Councilor Ryan?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, in approving the minutes of the public hearing today, I was reminded of the fact that that the rezoning approval went in the face of the height concerns that some residents and council members raised, and it also reminded me of my unsuccessful attempt to initiate some discussion with the developers regarding the height of the buildings in the development, since they greatly exceed the community norm and the scale of the community. Unfortunately, our minutes usually only record decisions, and so they don't capture the discussion or the important reasons that people may have or council members may have for voting as they do. I certainly favor the Oasis development in general terms, and I regret that the height issue was never really directly dealt with between the developers and council. It somehow got sort of wrapped into the building that we're looking at today in terms of a development permit, the professional medical building. And I think this was a significant oversight, and I think it's regrettable that it happened. So as a result of that, I really feel that on principle I can't support the adoption of this because, again, it was a discussion and a negotiation that somehow got omitted and should have taken place and didn't. And so on that basis, I would be opposed to the approval, but I would like to propose that we table this for our next regular meeting in order that the staff can advise the developers that we wish them to propose height reductions in the development to satisfy the wishes of the community.
There seconder for that? Chad's table list. That was the
motion.
Tabling motion. Is there any discussion on tabling motion?
Is it the right words? People not defer.
That was the motion, Councillor Ryan, was
Yes,
the table?
yes.
Motion to table, no discussion. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, any further discussion? Councillor Cronmiller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've probably spoken my time in this that I'm in favor of this project, and I've certainly listened to the people at the public hearing, and I think they were overwhelmingly in favor of this project. There was certainly some question on height, and I certainly appreciate what Councillor Ryan had to say about the heights, and it is something that's really different for our community. And since that time, I've always had occasion to look at building heights wherever I've gone, whether it's Whistler, which is all building heights, or whether it's Penticton that has 2 or 3 that stand out as you come down the hill, or other places that have new ones built with altogether different designs than just straight cement structures. So I kind of think that as I look forward that this is going to be a good project for our community, and that we can look forward to something here that I believe this developer and the people as they work on it are going to build us some buildings that are really going to be appreciated by all of us and be a signature to our community as they enter it. And the other part of this that gets to me is the medical part, and people say, well, it's a medical building, and people don't address the height part of it. And anybody I've talked to since that time certainly expressed that they knew the height. They know what that is, and they still are in favor of the project and are willing to proceed with it. So I feel an endorsement from that aspect as well. As Councillor Chadzi mentions, the sidewalk issue on Jubilee is one of those issues that go along with developments. Developers in the town speak to improvements around developments, whether it be a sidewalk or pavement or density bonuses or any of those sorts of things. All of those come into play. And during the course of the developer working with staff, they make decisions. They talk about give and take on what they can do during the negotiations of these things before it ever gets to council. And I would imagine at some point there's a limit to some of these things as to who can afford what and what we can get and what we can't get and all of that. So I think there's part of this might play into this. Also, the sidewalk is in our town plan for sidewalks, and it would be an expense that we would be paying at some point when we put that sidewalk in. So this is not an added expense to the town because the development's being built. It's an expense that's there all along, and we'll probably just move that up a little quicker than we may have passed, but I'm sure the neighborhood would be really happy that we do move it ahead sooner than later. So I don't see a problem with moving that sidewalk up and as an expense that we have. I would speak in favor of the motion of adoption.
Any other discussion? I guess I'll have a little kick at this. Looking at that Jubilee extension, the developer is already doing all the work down debt. I'm looking at that Jubilee section, again, that would be moved up. I mean, once we get the people walking down the sidewalk down Vedette, they've got to have somewhere to go. But, you know, it reminds me of the work down on 87, that we finally got that done, those sidewalks and that trails being completed. And I think, I don't know how much you hold the developer responsible for. You know, you go down the one street and then down the another street, and how many streets do we hold that developer responsible for? I don't think you can hold them responsible for all the sidewalks to get the people down to the post office. Having said that, I still also have my height issue. I'm not going to support this on the height issue. At the end of the day, I have to do what's true to myself and how I see the future of Osoyoos, and I don't see 10-story buildings. As Councillor Ryan had said, I really wished we would have had the dialogue with the developer. That's unfortunate. Whether that's our fault or whose fault it is, I don't know. But I wish we would have had that because I think there was a compromise available. I just came back from 4 days in Whistler, and I looked at all the buildings there, and I didn't see any 10-story buildings. So there's many there. The hotel I stayed in was 6, and there's lots of different heights, but I didn't see any 10s. So and they talk about density and things like that. So I'm not going to support the motion because of the height. However, I'm looking at people to probably vote the way they did on their second and third readings, and I think this will be approved, and I think it's a good thing for Osoyoos. And rather than deal with the height issue, I really think it's important that council get together and support this through that medical commercial component. I think our community development manager, our new position here, Mr. Jim Newman, I think town council, and I think our planning department should really pull together, see what we can do to attract the medical components that will fill that building. And whether that's new services in town or doctors in town, I think we should be strongly recruiting, supporting this development. Thank you. Anything further? Now we have, what motion do I have out there? Any further discussion? Councillor Ryan.
I wasn't aware that we had all three of those. There are two recommendations, separate recommendations. I thought we were just talking about the OCP and the zoning amendment, and not the development permit. Yeah, it was my intention to include both. I think I stated
one into.
Okay. So do we need them read again?
I would propose that we separate them. I move
Okay.
we separate the two.
Are you looking for me to respond to that?
Well, I guess I'm not sure whether that constitutes an amendment or whether it's a
You would like the official community plan amendment and the zoning amendment bylaw as one, and the development permit as a second item?
That's correct.
Ms. Van Vienen?
I thought I was tabling the first one. I guess I missed Councillor Rhodes, including the two of them, or all three of them.
Okay.
If it's agreeable to the two.
Yep, I'm fine
Okay.
with that.
Okay, so now we're looking for final reading and adoption of official community plan amendment bylaw 1230.08, zoning amendment bylaw 1085.77. Period. All in favor? Opposed? That carries. And now looking for a motion to approve the development permit DP 0907. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Cronmiller, any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. That has been approved, carried, and done. Thank you. Next item of business would be Desert Rose Estates. Councillor Chadsey, please, could you lead on this?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This has been a long-standing, outstanding matter for town council, and it concerns the Desert Rose Estates, which is up adjacent to the industrial park, the Buena Vista Industrial Park. And it basically has to do between manufactured homes versus mobile homes. And these are words, they're catchphrases. And what council has done in an attempt to try and bring some closure to this matter is to adopt a zoning bylaw, actually two zoning bylaws, one for definitions and the other for rezoning, that will give clarity and legal status to both the types of homes that are up in Desert Rose Estates. And so we've gone through our first and second and third reading, and we've gone through the public hearing. At second and third reading, what we found out was that the term mobile home, which is in the definition, is not actually a term that's used by the Manufacturing Housing Association anymore. And so at second and third reading, or at third reading, we agreed that what we should do is, rather than refer to them as manufactured homes or mobile homes, that we would refer to them as their status in the factory. So they're actually called CSA Z240s and CSA A277s. And so the purpose of this right now is for us to rescind the third reading of both the bylaws. So that would be zoning bylaw amendment 1085-76, and to rescind third reading of zoning amendment bylaw 1085-78. So one of these is the definitions, and one is the new zoning designation. That we rescind those, make the changes to refer to them by their CSA standard numbers, and give third reading as amended and adoption. And so I'm going to make a motion that we rescind third reading for zoning amendment bylaw 1085-76 and 1085-78, and that we give third reading as amended to both bylaws and adopt both bylaws.
Thank you, Councillor Chadsey. Any discussion, please? Councillor Ryan?
I was seconding, I think.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? Other than this has been a very, very long process. As we come to the vote on this resolution, it's been out there for a long time. It's certainly affected a lot of people's lives up there, so it'll be a real pleasure to. Hopefully, this is going to be approved. This will be a real pleasure to have this approved. So if there's no further discussion, all in favor, opposed, carried. Thanks a lot. There'll be a lot of people relieved about that. Next item of business would be the 45th Street road closure. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is another bylaw that is becoming sort of historic in its status of being dealt with. But this is, again, another approval that is required because of a little glitch that was discovered in the process of filing it with the land titles. This relates to the exchange of roads between the town and the Osoyoos Indian Band on the 45th Street. At the time of filing of the previous documents at land titles, the plan for the road closure at the north end of 45th Street was rejected due to the fact that the road was 40 feet wide rather than 53 feet wide. A subdivision plan in September of 1955 did not designate the additional 13 feet, even though the subdivision plan showed the road width as 53 feet. So legal counsel for both the OIB and the town of Osoyoos recommended that the town proceed with amending the road closure bylaw for the north portion of the closed road to 40 feet. So we're really just trying to reduce the time and the effort and the delays that are involved. So this bylaw was advertised in the Osoyoos Times on the September the 15th and the 22nd, and we now would like to give the public an opportunity to speak to this road closure amendment prior to council adopting this amending bylaw. And then I would like to move, following any public comment, Mr. Mayor, that we adopt the 45th Street Road Closure and Disposition Amendment Bylaw 1260.01, 2010.
Great, thank you. So is there any public input? Councillor Rhodes.
I'll second.
Okay, I'm sorry, seconding, yes. Now, is there any public input? Is there any public input? You've been at a few public hearings. And for the third time, is there any public input into this bylaw? Hearing none, we'll move right into the resolution. Is there any discussion of the council? Hearing none, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Another good one that hopefully we're laying some of these to rest. Next item of business would be the Waste Management Services and Regulations Amendment Bylaw. Councillor Rhodes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're here to look at adoption of this particular item. So first off, just a bit of background. The Waste Management Services and Regulations Bylaw were established to set regulations for services to collect and dispose of solid waste and recyclable materials. Amendment Bylaw 1267.02 received first three readings on September 20th. Just a little bit of an overview on this. Bylaw 1267.02 of 2010 has been brought forward for Council's consideration to adopt the bylaw to allow the sale of compost from the Osoyoos sanitary landfill. This rate established is $40 per ton for volumes less than 5 tons and $25 per ton for volumes greater than 5 tons or a $5 minimum charge. The tipping fee will generate additional revenues to assist the cost associated with composting at the Osoyoos sanitary landfill. In addition, this assists with reducing the amount of materials going into the active phase of the landfill. The town's landfill operator has been composting utilizing a windrow system and has screened approximately 4,000 cubic meters of compost, 2,000 with biosolids and 2,000 without biosolids. 7 test samples of each of these 2 windrows were sent off on September 20th, 2010 to CARO Analytical Services out of Kelowna, and the results were received back on September 29th of 2010. The results confirm that the compost without biosolids is ready for sale. However, the compost with the biosolids had 3 tests out of 7 that did not pass due to fecal coli forms, boy, that's a mouthful, being slightly too high. John Paul from Transform Compost Systems Limited recommends that the biosolid compost be re-wet and further composted to allow for better pathogen kill. This compost could also be utilized to assist with as final cover at the landfill. We have a couple of options here. First one being to adopt Waste Management Services and Regulations Bylaw 1267.02 of 2010 as presented. Or secondly, to retain all compost for final cover of the Osoyoos sanitary landfill and not establish a fee for sale. And I'd like to move at this time that we adopt by accepting option 1, and that is to adopt bylaw 1267.02 of 2010.
Thank you. Seconder for that motion, Councillor Ryan. Any further discussion, please? Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, I think this is wonderful that we have come to the point where we have compost for sale. So, hopefully the compost that we have that didn't pass the tests will perhaps pass the next time, and if not, we can use it. But to have 2,000 cubic meters of compost that available, I think is wonderful, and it's just another service that we're able to provide through our landfill.
Is there any further input? What would the process be? Do we have, when we're announcing that this is for sale, are they just going up there tomorrow to get pickup loads of this, or are we ready for business?
We're not quite ready for business. We wanted to first just get this particular exemption bylaw passed, and then we'll do a formal announcement advertising when we're actually ready. It's a matter of whether or not we'll wait for the other piles to be ready or not.
Okay.
And that way we don't exactly know what the demand's going to be.
Okay.
All right.
So don't go up there with a pickup truck tomorrow looking to buy some compostable product here. Thank you. Is there any further discussion, Councillor Ryan?
Just if I may, we were talking about Whistler earlier in the meeting, and as we know, having gone there for a couple of conventions, they do a lot of composting there, and the compost is used by almost all of their landscape companies throughout the community. So they're becoming more and more. This is all part of a self-sufficiency, self-reliance situation as well. You don't have to be bringing in things from outside. You can get your own ground cover and your own compostable material.
Great. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next item of business is permissive tax exemption. Councillor Cronmiller, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Bylaw 1276, the permissive exemption bylaw, is up for adoption. And just an overview of this one, there was one definition to note that has not been changed in this bylaw, being the tax exemption for destination Osoyoos. Description is as quoted here, and whereas the destination Osoyoos Development Society carried on the business of economic development, community development, business revitalization, visitor information, and tourism services for the town of Osoyoos. Should have this quoted item, economic development, community development, and business revitalization component removed from this definition. Change the definition for this bylaw does not change how the permissive tax exemption is calculated, and is recommended that this change be noted and adjusted in next year's permissive exemption bylaw. Council wishes to amend the bylaw. Third reading would need to be rescinded and reread for a third time, and a special meeting of council would need to be held prior to October 31st for the bylaw to be adopted. This permissive tax exemption, this permissive exemption bylaw needs to be adopted no later than October 31st of each year and takes effect for the 2011 tax year. And since we have a whole lot of meetings in the next file, I don't think we want another one, so I'm going to move adoption of permissive exemption bylaw 1276-2010.
Thank you, Councillor Cronmiller. Is there a seconder, please? Councillor Chadsey, any discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor, opposed, that is also carried. That finishes the bylaws. Moving into the business section of the meeting. There are council meeting reports, expenses for Councillors Cronmiller, Chadsey, and Rhodes. This was to attend the UBCM at Whistler, and we were there for, in case you're looking, there's different numbers for different councillors. They were there different numbers of days, and so I will, I can't make that motion. Can
I would move approval of these fees and expenses.
And I can second that. Thanks, Councillor Ryan. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. We will pay that. This is the $100 a day for out of town attending council business. The next item under business 2, is a grant and aid request, South Okanagan Milkameen Volunteer Report. Councillor Cronmiller, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A letter was received from South Okanagan Milkameen Volunteer Center from Penticton, dated September, well, it's not 37.
27.
2010, requesting the town of Osoyoos contribute $5,000 towards the Volunteer Center services. This organization has been in existence since 2006, located in Penticton, and consisting of 4 board of directors from Penticton. The organization is trying to reach out to municipalities for them to partner with their organization, providing financial assistance to operate. The organization stated in their letter that with the support of the town of Osoyoos, the Volunteer Center will build the following in the Osoyoos community: promote volunteerism in the community and help nonprofits find more volunteers, encourage participation in the Volunteer Center of all nonprofits in the area to help increase their capacity, and create partnerships and sponsor opportunities with local organizations. A number of the nonprofit organizations in our community are already receiving either financial assistance or land and buildings owned by the town of Osoyoos, or a combination of both. So if we are interested in the service that this organization is offering, they have stated that they would make a presentation to council. And currently there's some money left in the grant and aid program. There's several options. Give a grant and aid in the amount of $5,000 to the South Okanagan Milkameen Volunteer Center. To give a grant and aid for a reduced amount from the, as determined by council, to the Okanagan Milkameen Volunteer Center, or to deny the request for funding. And the recommendation that I move would be to option 3, to deny the request for funding.
Seconder, Councillor Rhodes. Any discussion? Chadsey.
Thank you. I'm going to support the motion. I'm just, earlier this year, this council really took a look at our grant and aid, and we developed an application form, and we agreed that the purpose of the grant and aid primarily is to assist special projects and not in the operating costs of any group. And this appears to me to be money simply to be put into to assist them in their day-to-day operations. And so for that reason, I'm going to support the motion, but also to perhaps they could get a letter telling them that that they should the dates they should apply for grant in aid from the town, and also supply them with the form so that when we review our grants in aid again for next year's budget. Thank you.
Anything further? So the motion was to deny. Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Can we get that letter component as a part of that? Great. Mr. Romanko? The next item up would be a road exchange agreement with the Osoyoos Indian Band. Councillor Ryan, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a follow-up to the bylaw that we passed, which was a road closure. So we're closing the road, but we have an agreement with the Osoyoos Indian Band, between the town and the band, regarding some of the costs of that transaction and the building of the new road and so on. So again, because of changes we've had to make, we've had to make some amendments to the recitals in there to talk about what has happened and why it has to be changed, and as well as some of the other things about accrued interest on unspent monies and so on. So it's again a result of the earlier zoning bylaw that we did, where we were talking about the road not being registered as wide as it is. So without sort of going into any further detail, this is really just a housekeeping matter, and so I would move, Mr. Mayor, that we authorize the mayor and the corporate officer to sign the amended agreement as presented.
Seconder, Councillor Rhodes. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next item is the Resort Municipality Visitor Experience Workshop. Report from Mr. Romanko.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Just some background information first. In order to receive the Resort Initiative funding, the town of Osoyoos must have a current resort development strategy. This strategy has to identify all the capital projects and services that it wishes to fund with the grant money that comes with the program. An initial plan was developed to get us into the Resort Municipalities program, but with the changing nature of the community, the council wished to revisit the projects and the priorities that were identified. On April 12th, a number of stakeholders came together to review the existing plan and also to identify new projects that they would see included in the new plan. The report from those discussions is attached, and it is our hope that we would get council's approval to distribute this report. Also, with this report is attached some additional projects that the administration have identified during discussions with council since the April period of time until now. So what we're proposing is that we would send out all those project ideas, wait for some stakeholder response to the ideas, and then we would bring back the final recommendations for the plan. The next phase of the planning process involves putting dollar figures to the identified projects, and the administration will proceed with that, probably before the end of November, because we would like to have a new plan in place prior to the new round of resort municipality funding, which is due from January 1st. So with that, if council wishes to make additional project recommendations, certainly that is open now, and also we're looking for permission to make this report public.
Council's wishes, please. Chadsey?
Thank you. I'll make a motion that we approve this report and that we make it available to the public.
And that would include the
Including-
project list?
Including Schedule E project, the project list, yes.
Okay. Councillor Rhodes for seconding. Any discussion? I know the public hears a lot about resort municipality. It's very, very important to the town of Osoyoos. There's only 14 communities in the province that have this status. We get special funding and get special treatment of our 2% tax collection from our hotel rooms. We get it matched. It comes back into the community. What amount of money were we talking about this year, Mr. Romanko?
We were looking at approximately $225,000 in this past year.
So again, there's only 14 of these small communities in British Columbia. We're very fortunate to be one of them, and this is some of the criteria that we have to supply information on to keep qualifying for this. It's really, really good for our tourism industry, and we have people sitting on boards, or the Tourist Advisory Committee, and looking at the distribution of some of these monies through both the hotel tax collection and the resort municipality funding. So again, I'm just providing that as a bit of a picture, because people keep hearing about it and probably wondering what it is. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next item under business 5, janitorial contract. Councillor Chadsey, please lead this one. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This topic is our janitorial contract for the town, and the previous contract is over on at the end of this month, October 30th. The contract covers maintenance for the town hall, the upstairs of the fire hall, the planning and development services, and public works. The contractor is expected to clean these 4 locations once per week, with 2 bi-weekly or bi-yearly cleanings of windows, carpets, and light fixtures. The previous contract was $595 per month plus GST, with an hourly rate for emergency call cleanings at $25 per hour. The tender closed on September the 23rd, and we received 5 bids. They range anywhere from $625 per month to $1,600 per month. Because several of them are within the same range, and because one is our current contractor and another one was at one time a contractor, staff determined to review each tender on a scale rate basis using price, experience, supervision, and staffing into consideration. When they did it this way, 3 companies scored 10 points. One is our current contractor, the other is the one that was previous, and a third contractor. And so staff is being asked to make a decision to award the building caretaker contract to our current contractor, Orion Janitorial, for a price of $625 per month plus HST and $25 per hour for emergency cleaning. And this term is for 3 years. Or to award the municipal building contractor to J&L Maintenance for a price of $895 per month plus HST and $24 per hour for emergency cleaning, and again for 3 years. Or the third option would be to award the municipal building caretaker contract to Mayfair Building Services for a price of $930 per month plus HST and $24.50 per hour for emergency cleaning for 3 years. So those are the 3 contractors who scored 10. And of course, council does have the option to retender the contract. And I'm going to make a recommendation that we that we award the municipal building caretaker contract to Orion Janitorial for a price of $625 per month plus HST plus $25 per hour for emergency cleaning.
Thank you, Councillor Chadsey. Seconder, Councillor Cronmiller. Any further discussion on this? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. So, yes, Orion Janitorial will continue to clean our premises here. Next item would be Business 6, which is the FCM Sustainability Conference. Councillor Cronmiller, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Osoyoos is a member of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, and as a member we attend conventions, and recently the Federation sent out a call for a request for proposals for selection of a host municipality for their board meeting, March or September of 2013. The FCM holds 3 board of director meetings a year. One is held in Ottawa in November, and in March and September meetings are held in various municipalities across Canada with the added intention to provide a glimpse into various Canadian experiences to the board members. As there is both prestige and an economic benefit to the communities that host these 3 events, FCM is designed to set up criteria for the selection of a host municipality. Therefore, 3 years prior to the date of the event, all member municipalities are notified of their intention to invite submissions to host an FCM board meeting. And municipalities wishing to be a host community for a 2013 FCM board meeting must complete a submission template by October 27th, 2010. At the present time, excuse me, the president of FCM is a regional director from the Kootenays. And so we have a local representative who's the president and maybe gives us a little inside track if we apply for this meeting to be held here. Now, if the directors come, there's one other thing I wanted to add. They require 150 guest rooms and tables for 74 people with 40 observers. So there's in the neighborhood of 150 to 200 people that would come to town and as part of this meeting of their board of directors. So it certainly would be something that would put us on the map with politicians from across Canada, and certainly give us some insight in our community of the sorts of things that the Federation does for us, and the way that they lobby for us in many things, whether as we talk about sustainability planning and things that we're doing, FCM has provided us some funding, so it's an example. We'll see some really good results from a meeting like this. And so I would move that we forward an application to FCM to host their meeting in 2013 in March or September.
Thank you. Seconder, Councillor Rhodes. Any further discussion on this, Council? Councillor Ryan.
Yes, just to say that I think it's a wonderful opportunity, and we talked about it this morning, and I think it's a very good economic development opportunity, as well as one that would bring people from across Canada here to Osoyoos, and if we're going to meet our targets for growth, I think this is the way to do it, to bring people in here and they won't want to go home.
Great. And I think following that up, anytime you can host a national conference, quite a feather in our cap. So I hope we're successful at this. We've only been a member of FCM for about 4 years now. Previous council joined at that time. I've never been to one of their conferences, but Councillor Cronmiller has. Oh yes, sorry,
Whistler.
Whistler. That's right. That's right. So it has been good, and to have the executive here would really be quite a little feather. I hope we're successful, Mr. Newman, and look forward to that. That is the end of the business under notice of motion. Councillor Ryan, please.
Did we vote on that?
No, we need a vote on that? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Notice of motion, Councillor Ryan.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thought I'd try out this new item we have on our agenda. So I've sent to everyone by email the notice of motion, and I'll read it and then I'll just comment briefly. That bylaws, contracts, legal or lengthy documents for review or decision by council be distributed at the earliest practical time, rather than being held for inclusion in the meeting package prior to the meeting for which they are scheduled to be discussed. Often our meetings, particularly our closed meetings, have a lot of fairly important bylaws or contracts. And I may not be the fastest reader, but I do like to read them fairly carefully. And I know that sometimes the ink is still wet as our staff are finishing these and so on, but I feel that I'd like to bring this forward with a little bit of a rationale for the next meeting so that we can consider it.
Councillor Cronmiller?
I'll second this.
Okay. Discussion. Councillor Cronmiller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just as a further to this, I know when I look at our agenda items, oftentimes there's either 40 and 100 and 150 pages, depending on what's there. And I know that certainly this week there was a lot to read when we hadn't had a meeting in a month, and there were, as Councillor Ryan has indicated, contracts and things that some of them did come out a little earlier, and it was great to be able to read them and digest them a little bit. But I certainly agree, if we have the opportunity to get them out a little sooner to us, it would be greatly appreciated.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
That comes to the
next meeting for.
And I have a little report.
Yeah. Yes. You'll have to generate. Councillor Ryan will have to generate a report to staff this time.
Okay.
So that we can
Works
put it
both ways.
Yeah. The door swings both ways here.
Well,
So we can.
This is our first notice of motion that we've done. So
Yeah.
this was notice of motion seconded then? No
need. But we thought we'd let you go, and at least I know I got later support. No harm done.
Once it got seconded, I'm going, oh, all of that.
Hey, you better jump
heading
in there,
for a vote. Okay, next meeting. Thank you, Councillor Ryan. Okay, now we head into some reports and the standard paying some bills to approve the general fund cash requirements in the amount of $1,589,812.51. Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Chadsey, all in favor, opposed, carried. To approve the Sun Bowl Fund cash requirements in the amount of $15,183.47. Councillor Cronmiller, Councillor Ryan, all in favor, opposed, carried. And to receive net payroll accounts in the amount of $130,548.25 for the period September 4th, 2010 to October the 1st, 2010. Received for information, motion to receive. Councillor Chadsey, Councillor Ryan, all in favor, opposed, carried. That's because normally it's a 2-week period. Okay, I'm going. That's a lot of money for our staff. I'm used to the 2-week reporting period on that. Okay, into reports still. Building permit report for the month of September 2010. Very meager. $2,500, $30,000. Total for the month $32,500. Total to date 2010 $2,762,200. And total as a comparison, total to date for 2009 was $4,780,362. So we're very, very low to what we have been used to, but I think that reflects the general economy. certainly allowing everyone to catch up. But again, that's important that we look at buildings such as the Oasis, and why I made the statement of support about that. Whether that height is the issue or not, I think it's very, very important that this development go ahead and council really pull towards getting this off the ground and getting this happening. It would be nice to be able to employ a lot of our young people and a lot of the building trades in the town. Further on reports, under reports 3, a report from our Chief Administrative Officer, Mr. Romanko.
Thank you, Mayor Wells. Since council hasn't met for a month, I hope you don't mind me identifying a number of projects, maybe a little more than usual, because we have been involved in a lot of things. Starting off, first of all, in the community development department, they're working on improving the town economic development website. They participated in a steering committee meeting, the first meeting of the economic gardening, and attended the official launch of the program in Summerland. So hoping that program will bring some great things to the community in economic development. The Community Development Department is going to co-sponsor the South Okanagan Chamber Luncheon. This luncheon will be held in Osoyoos on October 28th. The speaker is the Bank of Canada Senior Rep for BC and the Yukon, and he will speak on recent economic development in Canada. We also are partnering with the Oliver and Okanagan Falls for a picture ad in the Penticton Herald paper insert. It is going to papers in Alberta and West Vancouver. This insert is a piece on economic development opportunities in the South Okanagan Valley. In terms of our corporate services department, we saw some of their work today. They've been working on the janitorial contract tender, working still trying to eliminate the issues related to several unsightly property in terms of following up with property owners and bylaw officers. We're working on some extensive freedom of information requests right now, and we're also working proactively on a good neighbor bylaw to encompass all the areas of unsightly properties, noise, panhandling, etc. In the area of finance, worked on the tax sales. However, all delinquent taxes were paid by the owners, so no sale was needed. Working on a request for proposal for waste management contractor. This has been as a member of the RDOS. We're doing a one-call proposal for our waste pickup, but still retaining individual service contracting. And just as a point of interest, so far we've had 11 companies that have responded that are willing to provide that service to the Valley. The closing date will be in early November. We're also working on a terms of reference for the landfill contractor, as the contract is ending at the end of the year. In terms of planning and development, certainly the ongoing work with the Oasis development in terms of finalizing and preparing the legal documents for registration, preparation for the up-and-coming Lake Recreational and Commercial Use Task Force meeting, which will be this Wednesday with Council, and also working on a soil removal bylaw, the second draft, which was presented to Council this morning. In terms of public works, the Park Place walkway is completed except for the landscaping. So and further extension to our the area and around the Watermark building, and also 87th Street is well underway with the crews. Our crews completing the water service portion of the contract to expedite works. Certainly, we're under time pressures to complete this project by the end of March, and our contractor, well, again, because of TELUS moving poles and that, we're behind schedule. So we're pitching in to make us put us back on schedule. We had the Lagoon Energy Reduction Project was completed with the flipping of the switch on our solar panels, and also all our public works water people are busy with the irrigation shutdown, which starts October 15th. In terms of recreation, the CIRAC draft agreement has been sent to the lawyers, and we're awaiting their review and comments. And we are also in the process of doing a window inventory and getting quotes for so we can develop an RFP to replace the windows or a certain number of windows in the Sonora Center. We're looking at trying to see if we can eliminate some windows, retain light, but at the same time cut our energy costs in that way. We're also looking at quotes for the passenger bus, 16-passenger bus. We're also looking at the costs of a wheelchair accessibility within that bus as well. And that'll be coming back to council as soon as we can. And in terms of myself, I'm just reviewing information that was generated. We did an internal staff survey to get some indication from staff on how they felt about the organization and how it functions. So I'll be taking a look at that in the next while. I completed a request for proposals for the organizational review and distributed to 6 proponents. The closing date was on October 15th, and 4 were received. So I'll be working on those proposals and bringing them back to council for decision. Also updating the work accomplished on the business plan as background for information for council as we go into our first meeting in terms of business planning on Friday. So just make sure that that's still in your calendars. And that's all I have to report for right now.
That was quite a bit. Thank you, Mr. Romanko. Any comments from council? Hearing none, could I have a motion to that report, please? Councillor Rhodes, Councillor Chadsey, all in favor? That has been received. Under councillors' reports, and now we are having them as a part of the agenda order, and number 1 would be Councillor Chadsey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have one more statement to make about Oasis development. Hard decision for me, and I'm reminded of the mayor of Vancouver when Expo 86 was discussed, and he was against it. And he was wrong. So this is not I'm not flinging anything at you. I just hope that that we also are not wrong. In the last month, I don't know what happened, but I've been in Oregon, Vancouver Island, Whistler, Pasco, Washington, and I just got back from Enderby. And my only comment is that I cannot find a kilometer of road that isn't being worked on in all those places. So congratulations to everyone who is working hard and directing traffic, and that includes my own street, by the way. I did attend UBCM in Whistler, and I'm sure all the other councillors will talk about that. Lots of resolutions, but we talk about earlier today on the notice of motion. Did we need to adopt it or what? There was one resolution, and I stopped counting at 20 points of order. It just was. It got ridiculous. Anyway, I'm sure they got past that. I just want to talk briefly about Christmas. Sorry, everybody, but it is coming. And a lot of you know about the Christmas shoebox, and some of you do not. The boxes are available at Tim Hortons, and here is the flyer. And it tells you all the different things that you can put into it. And if you're not sure what you want to do, you can fill a box for $5 by going to a dollar store. And dollar stores do have the list there of things that can go in or cannot go in. You can choose a male or a little boy or a little girl. We have them here, and I've been made responsible for the council ones, so I'll be seeking some monetary input from my fellow councillors. I'm sure they'd rather do that than go shopping. So I hope everybody will take advantage and fill out a shoebox, and let's get it off to the countries where they really can appreciate and enjoy the contents. I just want to congratulate Mayor Wells, and he's just back from a 2-week vacation, and he and Dr. Martha Collins got married, so I congratulate you very much. And the other thing I want to point out is Whistler does not have a landfill. We've talked about that earlier on our bylaw. Everybody brings their garbage to certain transfer stations, and the recycled is pulled out, the composting is pulled out. Everything that can be reused is taken away and reused, and what is left is actually shipped to Eastern Washington. But there's an example of a population the same as ours with huge tourism, and they do not have a landfill. And that will happen to us one day, maybe not in my lifetime, but so the longer, if we want to enjoy a landfill, then let's protect it by being careful what we put in it. And that is my report.
Thanks, Councillor Chadsey. Councillor Rhodes, please.
Thank you, Mayor Wells, and from myself, congratulations as well on your marriage to your beautiful bride. Hope there's a lot of happy years ahead of you.
Thank you.
Regrettably, I'm not going to be quite as brief as Councillor Chadsey, and I'm going to talk about a couple of matters. One of them has to do with garbage as well, but I'll get to that a little bit later. Well, I attended the UBCM, and I'm not going to go on about all the things that went on there. Too many things to speak about in a forum like this, but you know, there is one matter that I really want to talk about, and it has to do with community engagement. And at the conference, you know, community engagement was a big thing, and so I started thinking about it a little bit. And my first thought was, well, what the heck does community engagement mean? So rather than trying to go into a dictionary or encyclopedia definition of those two words, I'd like to bring about a little bit of an example of how things can happen in a community by people who get involved. But a district of, I think it's called a district or city of North Saanich on Vancouver Island, has a little bit of a thing that I found kind of fascinating. We listened to a lengthy lecture on what happened 5 years ago in that community. There was 2 young boys, I believe that one was 11 and the other was 12 years old, that sat down and composed a letter to the council of the day requesting that the town create a bike park in their community. Well, initially it kind of fell on deaf ears, but you know, one of the councillors took the initiative to follow it up a little bit. May or may not have thought it was a good idea. But you know, through persistence and dedication and an overwhelming sacrifice by the community, you know, they have a world-class bike park established in their community now that's being used. The bike park is suitable for all levels, from beginners to pros, and the focus being on fitness and getting in shape on a bike. So community engagement took that small little minor written request to council, and over years and years of sacrifice and hard work and all those other adjectives that you place on this kind of a situation, those 2 boys' dream came true. And that's really what community engagement is all about. And, you know, all of us that live in our community, you know, we all have dreams. We sit around and think about things that we'd like to see happen in our community. And this is how you do it. You start with the simple things, and through little baby steps over time, you get to, you know, the full project. And, you know, so many people sit around and think that it's the council and mayor and the staff and everything, and it comes up with these wild and crazy ideas, and, you know, we take them and move them forward in our community. But really, that's rarely what happens. You know, we're here to make decisions about things, And a lot of the creative things that happen in our community can come from individuals like everybody that's listening today, or your friends or relatives in our community. So I'd really encourage you to move forward, send us a letter. We'd be happy. We always look at them. We never disregard anything. And perhaps maybe your dream can come true in our community as well. Secondly, I would like to talk a little garbage for a while. On October 14th, I was fortunate enough to attend a meeting at the regional district office in Penticton. And it was basically a review of our district's solid waste management plan. I passed it on to one of the other councillors here. It's a lengthy document. And, I went there with a little trepidation. I didn't really know what to expect. I was only one of 2 elected council members representing our community at it. And, as usual, these things have an incredibly huge volume of statistics, and they just throw them at you left and right. And everybody that's giving them to you, well, they're experts on the statistics that they're giving you, but you are expected to know all of them. And I freely admit that I was a long ways away from that. But I did grab 2 little pieces of information out of it. At our landfill in Osoyoos, it's comprised of over 40% of organic material. That material is stuff that we, as individuals in our community, put into our landfill through our curbside pickup program, or perhaps dropping it off in the landfill. And 12% plastic material. So these 2 materials comprise, if you do the arithmetic, well, that's 52% of all the stuff that's in the landfill up there. And really, it's so important, and I've gone over this time and time and time again, that you care about the overall health of our landfill. You think it's a dump, it's where our garbage goes, but it's a lot more complex than that. For us to look at replacing a landfill because the existing one is full right now, well, it ain't never going to happen. Believe me, it would be so cost prohibitive, and the technology that you would have to put into it, well, just believe me, it ain't never going to happen in our community, or perhaps a lot of other communities that are bigger and better than ours. So the organic component of our landfill up there is really, in essence, compostable material. So you go, well, what can I do about that? Well, first off, backyard compost. If you're not doing it now, you've got to start doing it, because we could reduce that 40% of our landfill down to 0 if 100% of all of our compostable stuff that you and I dump in there got composted in our backyard and used in our gardens, and so on and so forth. And if I got to tell anybody in this community again about the harmful effects of putting plastic into our landfill, I don't care whether it's a plastic bag or a plastic container, you should be embarrassed for yourself. It doesn't need to happen. And once again, you ask, well, what the heck can I do about it? Well, I'm going to tell you what you can do about it. The first thing you can do is don't accept plastic bags when you purchase. You have, reusable cloth bags in the back seat of your car. I know you do. Remember to take them in. If you forget about them, pause, go back to your vehicle. I can say this with a lot of authority because I have about 400 of them in the back seat of my car, and if I do go grocery shopping, I'm always so embarrassed to use plastic bags that I end up buying another one. That's why I have so many. So anybody wants any, I got lots of them, and I can drive them over to your house. But really, in all seriousness, that is one really, really important thing you can do. And just to wrap it up, when you're buying stuff, whether you're at a grocery store or any kind of a retail outlet, look for the over packaging, particularly in food products where you have 3 carrots in a big plastic thing like this. I know I'm embellishing it, it doesn't happen, but there is an incredible amount of over packaging in food products. Don't buy them. Leave them sit there. Send that message out to these people that manufacture this stuff that is not necessary in our community. So there's a few things that you can do to help out our landfill, and that would be my rant for today, I guess. So, thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Rhodes. Councillor Ryan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What I'd like to do is to tell you a little bit about the what we were able to do at the UBCM convention. This is a very important convention for the municipalities in the province, and the Premier and the ministers and the MLAs are all pretty much in attendance for the whole thing. And it was a wonderful opportunity to be able to go, and I'm grateful to the people of Osoyoos for making it possible for me to do so. We met with the Premier, and we met with 4 other ministers, and we brought some of the community concerns to them. And I'd just like to briefly tell you what we took to them and something of what happened. We first of all met with Minister Shirley Bond, the Minister of Transportation, and we talked to her about our bridge and how narrow it is, and it's a bit unsafe for pedestrians to cross on the one side, on the north side, and sidewalks not big enough, and also concern about bikes. We also talked to her about our crosswalks and how a lot of drivers don't stop, and we told her about some of the devices that we've seen, either signage in the road or flashing strobe-type lights that we've seen in Kelowna that possibly could be used. And we also talked about the need for an activated signal at Cottonwood and Highway 3. She's very receptive to that, and told her deputy that she'd like him to get on a couple of these matters. So very satisfying meeting. She seemed to be identify with us, realized that these things had come before them on other previous occasions. So we were quite heartened, I think, by that. We met with the Minister of Community and Rural Development, the new minister, Mr. Stewart, Ben Stewart, and talked to him about our plans, our hopes, and so on for expanding our boundaries. And so they gave us some advice about how they'd like us to proceed, and encouraged us to do so. So we'll be working on that over the next year. We met with the Premier Campbell, and we talked to him about something that we had talked previously to the Minister of Agriculture about, which was needing a camp for a place, some land, where we could put together a camp for some of our agriculture workers and some of the transients and migrants that come through town in the summer, and explain some of the situations we had faced this summer. He again was quite responsive, and our MLA Slater was Mr. Slater's with us, and so asked him to work very closely with us and keep him advised, keep the Premier advised about what was happening, and he would do everything he could to get this underway and undertaken so that it's ready for next year. We met with the Solicitor General and Public Safety Minister, Mike DeYoung, and told him about some of the concerns we had about the lack of proper staffing of our RCMP detachment, and particularly the need for presence on the water during the summer, and extra staff and so on, and the fact that we didn't appreciate when our people who were already understaffed were pulled away for other duties. He explained, of course, that there was negotiation currently with the federal government about this, and that some of our concerns were not unique, and that they would be bringing them forward. And then finally, we talked to the Minister of the Environment, Mr. Penner, about the goose problem we have here, and I think we had a wonderful, fairly thorough write-up on that by our reporter, Ms. Wenninger, in the Osoyoos Times. But basically, he listened very attentively, and then revealed that he has the same problem in his riding at Cultus Lake. So we were encouraged by that. So hopefully something is going to happen on that front. But anyway, it was good to be able to put these concerns that we sometimes talk to bureaucrats about before the minister, and with the minister listening and showing that he wanted some action. Usually that translates into something happening. So that was really good. I'd just like to say that I've walked on that new walkway at Gyro Beach, and it's wonderful. It's beautiful to look at, and I think it's nice to have another connection, and it's nice, and not a straight line. It's a nice curving pathway. So if you haven't tried it out, why, please do.
Thanks, Councillor Ryan. Councillor Cronmiller.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know, I think we have been away for a month because I think everybody has something to talk about. Just at UBCM, I wanted to just mention that I had the opportunity to take a legacies tour and see some of the things that were left over from the Olympics. And certainly it was a wonderful opportunity to see just all the benefits you can receive from something as big as the Olympics. When we see all the things that happen at Whistler, and we mentioned their landfill. Well, I saw their old landfill. It's all covered over and going to be sport fields, and they're using the gas to heat a subdivision, and the venue that was next to it with a gymnasium community center was just unbelievable, and all the facilities they had. I thought, oh wow, this is a resort municipality. I think I'm going to go for it, keep it going. Maybe we'll get some more, so we can have a few more of those sorts of benefits that they got from the Olympics. So, and I think Councillor Ryan covered pretty much everything with the Premier, and with our elected officials. It's certainly an opportunity for us to lobby with them, and favorable comments, but given the climate of our province these days, it's certainly understandable, and hopefully we'll see some of those things come to fruition. One thing, though, that I'm going to stand on today, kind of like Councillor Rhodes, who likes to talk about some of these things. I have an issue that came up while we were at the UBCM, and it puzzles me as to why these things, we haven't figured them out yet. We're on the downstream of the Okanagan River and the valley, and we have a lake that we think is very precious. And the water that flows to it comes from up the valley. So now I hear about a community putting in a sewage treatment plant, but it's not going to be 100% efficient. It's going to be 95% efficient. The other 5%, well, down the road when we get more money, we'll see what we can do. I can't fathom the idea that we're going to do anything but 100% efficiency in these things today. And especially we're downstream. So we add the 5% to every other bit of pollution that we talk about. We spend a lot of money putting in sewers up our lake to try and do something about the septic fields along our lake. Then I hear today there's professional people along our lake who say, I'm not going to hook up to the sewer. The professional people that I think should really understand the importance of sewage and not having any of it flow into our lake, but yet, oh, I'm not hooking up. I don't understand. And I know that Penticton also, their treatment plant isn't 100% effective, but they're working on it. But so they add their 5%. OK Falls is going to add their 5%. Now we got 10 coming down towards us. I mean, we work hard and all our effluent stays out of the lake. I don't know. I'm really amazed. I'm disappointed in our partners up the valley that don't take those things more seriously, because they're important to us, and they should be important to them. And last but not least, I think I've mentioned it before, but just want to say it again. On Saturday, there's a retirement function for Gail Cornish, our museum curator, and not enough good things can be said about her tenacity and the work ethic and the time that she put into our museum. And I really kudos to Gail, and I really hope she'll enjoy her retirement from her second time around. So, congratulations to Gail.
Thanks, Councillor Cronmiller, and just on your comments about the outfalls to water discharge and things like that. The Osoyoos Town Council is going to go down fighting and scrapping on this issue. I can see for sure. Councillor Chadsey just finished fighting the battle at the regional district table. Councillor Rhodes was up there as acting mayor, and they were up there carrying out the needs of the town of Osoyoos. We didn't get where we wanted to go, but sooner or later, people are going to realize that they shouldn't be doing discharge into any water course. There are better ways. There are better ways out there. Here we're spending millions of dollars on the Northwest Sewer Project, taking the nutrient load out of the lake, and other people are putting the nutrient load, the nitrates and the phosphorus into the lake, and somehow that just doesn't make any sense. So good for you, Councillor Cromwell. We'll just keep beating this all the way we can. Yeah, UBCM was good, and I'll try to keep mine as short as I can. There was a couple other meetings that I had. One was with the Highway 3 Coalition. Very neat. This is all the mayors across the Highway 3 corridor, right from the Alberta border. We had a meeting also with the Premier, and I think we're actually making headway. They're starting to talk about some pre-engineering of the section from Sunday Summit to the start of the 4-lane there, which would be by the Falls Cafe. So, well, how old am I? The Falls Cafe. There used to be a gas station and a Shell gas station and a cafe there. But anyway, to where the 4-laning starts, they're looking at doing some engineering, some pre-engineering on it, getting some costs, and getting this as a priority. And if we can keep chipping away and improving that road, it certainly help everyone's life up in the interior. And did have again a meeting with the Resort Municipality Group, and I've already talked about that. Premier Campbell, yeah, we had a good one with the Environment Minister Penner, and it was sort of interesting that he did understand it, and he had the goose situation at Cultus Lake, and that turned out to be quite important because we had worked our goose resolution that we were supposed to do it through SILGA, which is our local government agency. We worked it through there up at Sun Mountain Resort and got pre-approval and got it passed by about a 70% vote rate on dealing with some geese issues that we were looking for. And darn if the bureaucrats within our own system didn't take it and muck it up. And they took our great goose resolution and one from within the elected folks' organization, not within the town's organization. So we belong to the UBCM. They took our great goose resolution and another one from Saanich, and there was one more. There was from Grand Forks. Well, and they rolled it into a conservation officers, more conservation officers with deer issue, and going, it didn't even make sense. We're mixing beast and fowl sort of thing. I'm going, this is not right. So it turned out that we did get our point across with the minister, and that was great. Very, very soon we'll be going to the public for some members to join on another committee. And I know we've got 2 active committees out there right now, which is really great. The people have really come forward to help on both of these committees. We're having our first meeting with the Lake Recreation Users Group Task Force. They'll be meeting this week for our first meeting. Again, please join in. We'll be looking for this next group, and come forward as volunteers. We try to keep it for a short window frame into that 2 or 3 or 4 months and get it wrapped up as fast as we can. But it's really, really valuable to have the citizens' input and sitting on these committees. I've been traveling a bit, as people have said. Thanks for the good wishes. Yes, I did get married. Quite something at my age. I didn't think that would happen ever again, but it did. So on my tour, on our tour, got to quit talking like that. On our tour, we hit about 5 states and a couple of them twice, and it's amazing the amount of infrastructure work that's going on. It's just everywhere. It's everywhere in Canada. It's certainly everywhere in the United States. There's a lot of work going on, and it seems to be stabilizing the economy a bit. So I hope we can sort of get through this rough time and reap our rewards for all the work that is going on. I went over the Hoover Dam, and the new bridge wasn't open, but you could see it there. It was really neat, and it opened last week sometime, I believe. It was on TV. That new bridge opened, and they'd been 8 years building that bridge. It's quite spectacular. So where you used to wind down and snake and go across the great big Hoover Dam, now you just go bluff to bluff over this great big concrete span bridge. It's again, it's very interesting. I got married, and I became also a grandfather for the second time about 4 days ago. So my personal life is very full. My council life is now going to get very full. And I think that's all I've got to say. So I'm looking for a motion to adjourn. Councillor Chadsey, Councillor Rhodes, all in favor? Good afternoon, folks. Have a good day. Another little girl? The owl.